Good evening guys, I was going to build another CR6 Hexapod and I just thought of making this build video. As you can see here, I've already pre-assembled most of the parts, but I've deliberately left out a few just for this tutorial. To start off, let's look at assembling the tibia. To assemble the tibia, you need to take two of these pieces and snap them together to this metal piece with two rivets on each side. And when you are done, you can actually screw in the feet with 6mm M3 screws on each side. You will need to build 6 of these. And when it's done, it will look something like this. Notice that I'm using black screws and nuts instead of the silver ones that comes with the kit. This is because I think the CR6 looks much cooler with them. And if you are interested to follow me, you may need to purchase them yourself. Moving on to the femur is actually made up of two servos being held together by a U connector. Now before you work on any servos, I would like to remind you to set all of the servo horns to the middle position. And this is the digital value of 1500 in the servo controller software. And you may face some difficulty trying to align the servo to the U connector, and for that I'll recommend that you use a needle to hold the servo in place. This way, it will allow you to easily put in the M2 6mm screws into the servos. You will need 6 of them on this side and 4 of them at the back. For my femurs, I have actually replaced 6 of the LDX 218 servos with 227s. These are 270-degree servos that will allow the CR6 to support reorientation when being flipped upside down. And this is the same Mark II model which I have shown in one of my videos. If you have not watched it, I would strongly encourage you to go check it out. The proper direction to install the femur is to make sure that the metal axle is facing the front of your hexapod. And because I'm using 227, I'll need to make sure that I make 3 sets of the femurs for both left legs and right legs. The 227 servo should be on the left hand side on the left femur and on the right hand side of the right femurs. As for the body, the plate with many holes will be the bottom plate, and the one with a large hole in the center where the servo controller is supposed to be mounted, this will be the top plate. And both plates will actually have 4 M2 screw holes to indicate that this is the front of the hexapod. Now, when installing the servos to the bottom plate, do not place the servo horns on the rear axle first. This is because part of the back plate will actually need to go in between the servo horn and the servo. And once you are done installing all the 6 servos to the bottom plate, you can start to put in these cross brackets to form the coxas. When assembling the coxa, please ensure that you install the cross bracket as a straight line to the servo. You can verify this by making sure that these 2 screws are aligned with the hole here on your servo. Now, you will need to use self-tapping M2 screws that are about 5 to 6mm to hold the cross bracket to the plastic servo horn. You also need an additional normal M3 6mm screws to hold the servo horn to the servo. But on the rear, you will need to make sure that you use self-tapping M3 4mm screw to hold the servo horn to the servo itself. Once you are done, make sure that you do this to all the 6 servos to prepare the coxa for the legs. Let's look at the assembly of the legs. The legs are pretty straightforward. They are basically formed by putting the tibia and femur together. And how you put them together, it all depends on the type of servos that you are using. If you are using 218 servos, you will need to install the tibia in a 45-degree fashion to your femur. This is to allow some compensation of the movement of the tibia inwards later on. But if you are using 227 servos, then things can be much more straightforward. You can install the tibia as a straight line to your femur. Please make sure that you assemble all the 6 legs, and once you are done, you can connect them to the coxa. And basically this is how everything looks like once you are done assembling the legs, and we are just left with laying out the remaining components. As you can see, I have chose to put my servo controller board inside the chassis along with a breadboard and an Arduino micro for my future programming purposes. And for the PS2 receiver, you will notice that there are 4 screws beneath the receiver that you will need to remove, and the positioning of these 4 holes will actually map to the same M2 holes on the top plate. This will allow you to either mount the receiver on top or at the bottom of the plate, whichever way you like. And once you are done, you can proceed to do the wiring of the servos to the servo controller board, and I'll recommend you to use the nearest pin to the servos. So here we are, reaching the end of this tutorial. I hope you find this useful. Do subscribe to my channel for more Hexapod videos. Thank you.